Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Melanie Enniss from Tennessee, connecting with Amanda Tinsley, who is running for sheriff of Oconee County. We wanted to get back together after our last interview and talk once again. We had a few questions that came in after that missed the first initial interview, so there were a few things that people wanted to ask, and so we're just going to go ahead and do another quick Q&A and let Amanda ask some more questions. Or answer some more questions, that is. Go ahead, Amanda, let me know. Actually, tell me what's been going on since the last time we talked.
So since the last time we talked, I have put out some larger signs. This past weekend, my husband and I and another couple from church kind of spread out through the county and put out some larger signs, got my picture on it, and just advertising me and what I'm about, and hopefully stir some more attention toward, I think for me, it's a community cause, me running for sheriff. It really is trying to make a difference, not really for myself, but for the whole entire community, all of us. I mean, we all have a right to have representation in the government, and that person representing us at the sheriff's office, the sheriff.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, I have my first question. We'll go ahead and just dig into the questions since we have a limited time, and then we have a few people that are here, and they may have a question too. So let's go ahead and start our question. Crystal Moore has asked, she says she's debated over whether she wants to ask this question or not, but her question is, what is your stance on working with the South Carolina Highway Patrol to solve hit and runs that have not been solved? Do you feel that the Highway Patrol are the only ones to have jurisdiction over cases that occurred in our county outside of city limits? And she says she has obvious reasons for asking that, so she must have something that has happened to her.
Or relative.
Yeah.
So I assisted Highway Patrol. We had a hit and run death, a fatality. And so the guys from the Oconee had come to me, and I had assisted them in typing a search warrant for phone records and things like that of a possible suspect they had in mind. So I think that, I have no problem in working with Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Office. I don't know that the Sheriff's Office currently would have problems working with Highway Patrol and helping them solve those cases. We would not take those cases away from them because that is what they predominantly do. They would be the experts in working any type of hit and run and accident cases. That's going to be their specialty. So but we certainly don't mind assisting them and releasing press releases. We did that there was a man who was killed riding a motorcycle, a hit and run, and the Sheriff's Office assisted in releasing video and, trying to get people to send in tips and things like that. And I helped in that particular case and typing up a search warrant that they in turn signed, but I helped them kind of word it and type it up so we could get those records, or they could get those records, really.
Okay. And then I've actually had a couple of people ask this, but Susan Carver was the one that asked it on paper. She wanted to know, let's see, there was an issue with unsolved missing people that a lot of people are concerned about because it was women. And a lot of the women in Oconee County are frightened for their young girls, and just because that this happened there, it's such a small town. But there's a concern from a lot of people about the missing person cases. And so she says, where do you stand on all of the missing person cases that we have in Oconee County? She has a personal interest in this one, being her sister, Sheila Carver, is one of those cases. And I have heard feelings towards the Sheriff's Department, or I have hard feelings towards the Sheriff's Department, as I'm sure all other families do as well. I want someone in that seat that will actually do something. What can you do and will you do to help us? And she also says, thank you for all you do for child abuse in Oconee County. So she starts off wanting to thank you, obviously, for all the work that you do for women and children in Oconee. And then she wants to know, when you're in that seat, because we're going to throw that blessing out there, when you're in that seat, Amanda, what is your stance on, and what will you do to about the missing women's case? So there's a total of 8, right? Is there 8?
I don't know the exact number. And then none of them are assigned directly to me. I've assisted in the investigations of several of them. I would like for missing people cases to be assigned to the Special Victims Unit. The type of evidence that we collect for child abuse investigation, sexual assaults, violent crimes, it would be the very same type of evidence we would want to look at to try to locate people who are missing. So I think that it would make sense. And my idea for that Special Victims Unit is to have seasoned investigators with, that kind of training and background that would certainly lead those investigations. So you would have someone experienced that they've worked a number of cases where they've sent search warrants to a variety of different tech companies. And we also can work with SLED, and we have worked with SLED actually on some of these missing people cases that I'm aware of. Mm-hmm. We had SLED analyze some phones and things, and they did some GPS coordinates using the phone data to try to help us kind of determine the last location where the phone was active. So there are a lot of things that we do that at the sheriff's office, and I think in bringing in more cases dealing with SLED and agencies that can assist us with some technology that we don't have, but they have, that's vital to being able to find these people. So I think putting it a part of the Special Victims Unit would give that added solidarity and it would make more than one person kind of work those cases, So I think that's what I would like to see, is them be moved into a Special Victims Unit.
So as far as the missing women's cases that she's referring to, I mean, has there been any headway on it? I mean, I haven't heard anything recently in the news about it. I mean, do you know anything about where it stands currently? I mean, there is someone, I'm assuming, working on it. So is there any updates at all whatsoever?
Not that I could release. Not that I could release. They're not my cases, and they're still open and active. I can tell you. I can tell you that we have several investigators who have devoted a ton of time, and have looked in a variety of different places in this county, especially the missing women that have went missing in the past year or two. I know because I've seen them do it. So they are actively working on it and still taking and working on leads in those cases.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Okie dokie. And then we had another question. Well, one of the biggest questions that I keep getting asked is about the drugs in the area and what you could do. So let me ask the question. Kimberly Hunia, she says she lives in the Fairplay area and they have a big drug problem in that area. And what are your plans to reach out to the outlying areas of the county? Also, do you plan to well, first answer that part of it, and then we'll go to the second part of it.
Okay. So to me, the outlying areas of the county are just like any other area of the county. I don't think that we're going to treat one area in particular more than another unless it's something that we know that there's a high crime volume, like the Mill Hill, for example. We all know that's a high crime volume area. So that's going to get added attention, but it's because of the volume of cases there. But that doesn't mean that Fairplay is going to get neglected. I live in Fairplay myself, so I understand, and the Fairplay is no different than Westminster, no different than Salem. Our entire county is ridden with the epidemic of drug use, drug addiction, and that addiction drives people to steal for that addiction. So our entire county is affected, I think, equally for that. So I had released, I had answered questions on this similar already, but I think doing heavy saturations with a number of officers, including our canine officers in those areas, doing it weekly, doing it consistently, being aggressive in that procedure, never being able to predict where we're going to necessarily be,
right?
Not necessarily releasing it publicly, and see if we can't target some of these areas to kind of reduce in theft and also make some drug arrests and hopefully lead to some of our local drug dealers going to prison.
Well, that was what I was getting ready to say. I mean, because there's got to be a root cause. I mean, because, yeah, it's rampant across our nation, but there's root causes that you can drill down into and start cleaning up areas. I mean, I wouldn't know what those root causes would be if it's people related or if it's not enough jobs in an area related, but that would be interesting to get data on in those higher crime areas or or if it's a poorer area or whatever. But
I think the smartest thing, I will say this, the smartest thing I think for any leader to do is a look to the experts in their profession. For us, the guys that are in our narcotics division, our guys that have worked the interstate doing drug interdiction, those guys are going to have the best ideas. If we look toward those guys, they're intelligent, experienced people. Have those guys brainstorm. I've been in investigations, and predominantly what I've been doing is financial crimes and violent crimes. Those guys have been the ones working narcotics cases, drug interdiction cases. It makes sense to lean on the experts that are at the department for their ideas.
Right.
I think if the creativity is encouraged, innovative thought, thinking outside the box is something that we can encourage throughout the department, we're going to see innovative, creative change occur that's maybe unlike what we've ever done before.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking. If you could ever get to that root cause and maybe start there, you can fix all these little incidents that are going on, because they'll eventually just go away, but just get to that root cause. But again, that's a big job. I mean, that's a really big job.
That's what I was going to say. There's only so much that a sheriff's office can do. I can't stop people from using. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Addiction is an individual choice. So I can't stop people from using. And where there's drug addiction, there's going to be money made. And where there's money made, there's going to be greed. But I think that you can still hold people accountable who are selling drugs. You can still hold them accountable. People who are stealing, you can still hold them accountable. Their stealing may be rooted in their drug use. We do have some things in place like drug court that will help motivate them to become clean, or simply hold them accountable.
Right. Okay. Well, now the second part of her question is, Kimberly Honey's question is, how do you plan to handle the current, I keep hearing this word, good old boy system. And I promise y'all, I don't make this up. These questions come to me. So I'm just repeating what is in front of me. How do you plan to handle the current good old boys club that exists in the sheriff's department? I have witnessed firsthand when a coworker and I were verbally assaulted by an off-duty deputy while working at a local retail business, because one of us asked his children not to climb on the shelves. We called to make a report, and the other deputies tried to cover for him and refused to take our report. So they felt unsafe with this police officer, and I thought police officers are supposed to make you feel safe, so that's an issue.
Right. I think that it should never be acceptable that we not take reports in reference to bad behavior of other officers. Even if the person's complaint we feel is unjustified, not refusing to file any kind of complaint, whether that's taken to this person's supervisor or whatever, it's unprofessional conduct. Does any company do that with their employees? If you go into McDonald's and their employees rude to you, does the manager say, no, I'm not listening to you? No, they listen. That's what I think the majority of people out in our community, they want to feel like their voice is heard. And right now, there are a lot of people who feel like their voices aren't being heard. And it's not right to try to cover for somebody if what they've done is wrong. Let their supervisor address it. It makes sense to do so. So as far as the good old boy system, her term, I really am hesitant about using that term. The only reason being is this: the good old boys, there are guys that I work with who are actually good old boys, like in a good way.
Yeah,
in a good way. But I know what she's saying. She's saying the good old boy connotation in a negative way. I know exactly what she's talking about.
Right. I feel like they can't ever be held accountable because they're in a network of people of protection. And so they can go out in the community, they can speed downtown. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen police officers come flying by me doing more than a speed limit and just pull up in the skins and go in there and eat lunch. I mean, it's like nobody's held accountable and nobody's afraid to break a law down there.
Right.
And I don't mean to say down there, but I'm from Oconee and that's where I spent the majority of my life. I just want what's fair is fair. If it's fair for a police officer, it should be fair for a general citizen, because at the end of the day, taxpayers' money pays for all these services that we should be able to have. And when you have people trying to report a crime that they feel they should report, and then they go and they try to report it and they're told they can't report it, or they're given the runaround or nobody will take their call. I just don't understand that. I guess as a person on the outside looking in, I don't understand that. So yeah,
I don't understand it
I
either.
understand what she says about the good old boys. I understand.
I do too. And what that does is that makes people in the community feel like laws and rules only apply to
Certain
select few.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there are certain members of the community who can get away with things and it's never addressed. I've seen it happen myself. It's really disappointing. So I think that as sheriff, I vow to treat everybody fairly, literally fairly, as I would like to be treated. And I think that what I would like to see justice delivered, I think you can do that fairly too. You can treat someone fairly who has done something wrong, but that while addressing it, that not leaving it unaddressed. We have too much of that. Right. I think that if our community isn't sick and tired of it, I mean, by this point, I think that I've had so many people contact me asking me to work their closed cases, asking me to look into some situation that they feel like did not get addressed properly. Mm-hmm. And I feel their pain.
But you can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know what they're saying, where they're coming from, because I know that does happen. And the reason it happens is because we need a better system in place. And I vow to make it happen where people are held accountable from the bottom to the top and from the top to the bottom. There are going to be things in place where no coasting. Managers are going to manage. Cases are going to be investigated. When an employee leaves employment, that person's cases, if they're assigned, they need to be reassigned to someone else. Because what happens is cases go, if someone leaves employment, many times those cases are not reassigned. When they're not reassigned, nobody's looking at them any further. That's not right. That's ridiculous.
That's interesting then. So you're saying when someone leaves the department and their cases aren't being reassigned, is that an ongoing issue that's going on right now in the sheriff's department?
It is.
How many cases do you feel like is out there that's not assigned to anybody? It's not being worked.
Well, not being worked, I'd have to run the numbers. I know that I've ran numbers. We have right around, as of the day that I filed for sheriff, we had right around a little over 19,000 open cases at the sheriff's office.
19,000 open cases?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
They're listed as open according to our software program. Now, it's not perfect, and I have to go back and I'll have to make sure it's not trying to duplicate a case number or anything like that. But according to the software program, sitting in an open status, and that's since 2005 to current date.
Okay, so, from 2005 to today.
Yeah, so it's a long time, but many of those cases are assigned to people who are no longer employed, who have retired or left employment. So,
are they unsolved cases, or are they just open? They're open unsolved cases is basically what they are then.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I think there are maybe less than 100 that actually appear to have been closed, but they're listed as the open status as far as that computer software program goes. I think I looked, and sitting in a status not assigned to anyone, there were around 6,800. Okay. And that don't have an investigator assigned to them at all. And then there's a number of them that are assigned to people who no longer are employed or don't work cases anymore. So and I knew that actually. I had started running those numbers after I had made the decision I was going to run for sheriff. I knew about the child abuse cases. There were over 200 child victim cases open at that time, and 92 of those were assigned to people who no longer work cases or were no longer employed at the sheriff's office. So I started looking into the numbers of other types of cases, burglaries and grand larcenies and things like that. And this is typically what I'm talking about as far as these particular numbers were just assigned to investigators in investigations. The 19,000 assigned to the entire department. But so the numbers are disturbing. I know it's going to feel overwhelming addressing it, but just like any other task that seems overwhelming, the only way to get it addressed is to start one step at a time. I know that it's a multi-million-dollar software program. It has the capability of listing all of these cases, and us as a team, let's just sort these things out and figure out what cases, look into them. Which cases should we be closing? They truly are cold cases, no evidence to follow. In which cases should we be actually saying, you know what, this needs to be reassigned to someone because it's got some evidence, it's got some leads for someone to investigate. If you think about how many people have gone unserved or underserved because we just haven't managed these cases better. The capability of doing it is there. It can be addressed.
That's the program you talked about, right? That's the program you talked about the taxpayers already paid for, and they were starting to use it where you can't duplicate a case. It was already in there. Okay, well, that's good. Okay.
I'm sorry. I kind of got off on a tangent. I probably have like undiagnosed ADHD. I'm sorry.
No, no, you have to have some sort of, to do that service. I mean, to be a service of people, you know, and to do the things that we do. So I have it too. I'm okay with that. It makes me a better person. So, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add to that, or?
I just know. Let's just go ahead and go to the next question. I don't want to not answer someone else's question.
Okay. Well, we are at 7:22, and we have 3 guests with us that have allowed themselves to come in to the screen for questions. So I will ask those 3 guests if they have a question they would like to type it into the group chat. There is a group chat. If you toggle down to the bottom of your screen, you should see a chat window, and you can ask a question. So if you have a question to ask Amanda, go ahead and type your question in, and she can see it, and we will allow you to ask a question. So, and I actually have someone trying to get in, so I'm going to call her. She said her password's not working, and see if she has a question and let her. Kim Gaskew is trying to get in here, so let me see if she was able to get in. I think she had a question, or maybe not. She's not answering. Maybe not.
Was that all of our questions that people have submitted to you?
I think that was all the ones, because they were mostly, a lot of them were the same running type questions about the drugs in the area. What was your plan on the drugs in the area? Let's talk about that task force that you were talking about. If nobody in our room has a question for Amanda, we'll talk about that. Didn't you, your focus for the task force for the women and the children, I really liked that unit that you talked about.
The special victims unit?
Yes. Tell us a little bit about that situation that you've got a focus for.
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is bring in, and I talked to you this last interview about bringing in positions into the investigations on narcotics that would be temporary positions that would rotate officers into investigations, rotate them into narcotics, and then rotate them back to the road. That will help, I hope, to alleviate some of the crimes, like property crimes, for example.
Hold on, Amanda. Kim, okay. You're on the thing with us.
Okay.
Did you want to be in here?
Yeah, but I'm not.
You don't have to talk. Just listen.
I know, but how am I on it? FaceTime right here?
Kim, they can hear you. Yes. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, so hopefully these these positions that will be rotating positions will help alleviate some of the property crime burden. Those guys are working several hundred cases open at a time a lot of times. So I can't
get the password to work. Hi.
So sorry.
Does she know she's on?
She's in here now. Okay. Kim, what's your question? Do you have one?
Well, I was just trying to get the password to work to get into Zoom. It wasn't working.
She wants the password to get into Zoom. Okay, I thought you had a question, dear.
Right.
Okay, we'll just sit there and just chill then. Okay, go ahead.
So I've got a question from Wen Galton. She's asked, does it reduce effectiveness of the sheriff's department to cover calls to Westminster because we don't have any nighttime local police protection? My answer to Wen, being that I work Westminster City Police Department, I worked there when I first come into law enforcement. My answer would be no, I don't think it reduces our effectiveness. It may reduce what the people, the citizens in the city, what they are used to. Now, the police department can respond within just a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes, and they can be at a call. Versus if you call the sheriff's office, we've got maybe one person stationed in the entire Westminster area, which is over 100, 200, square miles. So if you call the sheriff's office, and we may have one person stationed in the Westminster area, and you live in the city, it's going to reduce the service for you guys because you're used to having just 2 or 3 minutes response time. And with the sheriff's office, you may have 20 minutes response time. You may have longer if that officer were on another call. So the city in of itself at night doesn't get a ton of calls. So it doesn't hurt the sheriff's office to respond to them necessarily, but it does hurt the citizens of the city who are paying city taxes and county taxes. It does affect your service because instead of someone being able to respond in just a few minutes, it's going to take them a lot longer depending upon where they're out in the county and if they're on a different call or not. So just so you know, it doesn't affect us or as far as our service to the community, but it is going to affect what the citizens in the city, the service that they are really paying for.
That's kind of the same thing like with the EMS, because there's only like when I was there, we only had 3 trucks, and one of them was in Walhalla. Two of them stayed at the hospital. The one that stayed at Walhalla was basically up there for Kiwi and Mountain Rest to make the response time quicker. But I think they've had more trucks in since then. But so it's because of is it a lack of funds is why Westminster doesn't have overnight protection, or?
I think so. I think that they kind of cut back. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So does anybody else have a question for Amanda before we wrap it up? Because it's 7:28 and we had a 30-minute Zoom. Is all we took time for. So I think, Amanda, that was it. I don't see any more questions coming in. So that was awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out and meeting with us and sharing your vision and your focus and your heart for the people. I will say this, somebody came on Facebook and said that it showed a lot about your loyalty to your boss to be running for sheriff. And that really disturbed me, because to me, it didn't show anything about your loyalty to your boss. And I said this on your page. To me, it showed the loyalty that you have for the people of Oconee County that you promised to protect and serve. Because
that's right.
You see things,
I heard that.
Not that you weren't trying to change what was going on from the inside, because you were. And when you couldn't, you knew the only way that you could get that change to happen was to be sitting in the seat that drove the car. And right. I commend you for that, for taking that step and for being brave enough to stand and put yourself and your family out there, because that is not an easy thing to do. So I commend you, I applaud you, and I just want to tell you that I am proud of you and I support you, and I think that's awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, and I hope what people who know me personally, I am not the kind of person who desires to be the center of attention. I'm actually the opposite of that.
I know. I can't even get you to do live.
The situation's so concerning that I knew that the only way I could really make a difference and I could help more people really is by running for sheriff. Because I knew that, honestly, folks, if I become sheriff, it'll be fixed. If I don't become sheriff, it won't. It'll be the same thing. And it's not right. It's we the people, all of us deserve better. And I work at the sheriff's office. I'm telling you, we can deliver better.
Absolutely.
I would not be risking this. And, I have 9 years before I could retire. And I'm risking really my career. But I feel like this is to help the people of the community. This is worth it. This is a risk I'm willing to take. Mm-hmm. And to help the people on the inside of the sheriff's office. If I'm telling you, the internal culture is currently toxic, and it's disappointing and demoralizing as an employee when you got in to serve people and to do the best you can. Mm-hmm. the current culture just doesn't foster that. It doesn't encourage it. We can do better than what we're doing.
Right.
So if whomever watches this, I'm not sure what we'll be able to post, if we can post this video and it work, but this will be the first time we've both tried it. But if we can, people can find more information about me on my website, focusedonpeopleandpurpose.org. I did not select that ULR, I didn't select Tinsley for sheriff on purpose. I selected focused on people on purpose for a reason, because that's really what the direction I think the sheriff's office needs to take. That's where the quality of service is going to improve. That's where we're going to get more investigations solved and resolved. That's how we're going to reduce crime in our area. And certainly people are going to feel like that happens because their cases are getting investigated and not uninvestigated.
Right.
So, but they can find more information about me, like I said, on my website, focusedonpeopleandpurpose.org. The primary is June 9th. So please, everybody put it in your calendars and your phone to have a reminder. Don't forget, it's important.
Absolutely.
It's not November, it's June 9th.
June 9th, go vote. Yes,
this is where the decision is going to be made. And whatever God's will has in store for me, I'll follow his direction no matter what the results are. And I want everyone to know, no matter the results of this, I feel like I'm being obedient to what God would want me to do. And I'm trying to do the best I can to help as many people as I can. And I knew running for sheriff was going to be the way to do it.
Well, Amanda, Steve has asked a question, and it may cut us off, Steve, so we'll try to get this question in here. Steve Hagerman says, have they discussed the cases that are open and the victims that aren't even getting service from the current sheriff? That's one we discussed earlier, right, where we talked about all the cases that were still open. And yeah, Steve, that is one we did talk about. If you want to, as soon as we go off the Zoom, Amanda's going to share this. We're going to get it shared, and you can go back and rewatch. And guys, if you have a question, put it in the comment section. If you're watching this on replay and you have a question for Amanda, she has not hid herself, okay? She has, from the day that she started running, has been on Facebook. You can go by her office and see her. You can make an appointment to see her. You can ask her questions. You can instant message her. She has been very open with me. She has shared anything I have asked her. She has answered, even hard questions. She has answered for me. Definitely ask her whatever you want to ask her. If you're on replay and you want to put it in the comment section below, and we'll get to it. So we'll either post it online, or heck, we might even do another meeting before June 9th. So
thank you, Melanie, for giving us this opportunity too, because being that the Oconee Republican Party is claiming that they couldn't get something together for us to have an open question and answer forum, we all knew that was not true. Technology is out there. Although, someone like me who's kind of been behind the scenes, I've not been directly involved with social media just because I've just been a worker, really.
Right.
But, you and I have figured it out. So I'm pretty sure that it's something that, everyone else could figure out too if the will was behind it. So I really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to do this, even though it's not, we're not at this professional forum on stage. Hopefully, I think this is kind of better in a way. It's less formal, and I'm really just another Oconee County citizen, and you're just another Oconee County citizen. You just live in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So
my heart lives in Oconee, though. That's where my babies are. That's where my children, and people ask me that all the time. Why do you care about what goes on down here? Listen, that's my roots. My people have been there since the 1800s. We got a suite at the LEC. I'm telling you, that is where my people are. So that is when I care about what happens there. And I want it to be fair for everybody. I want it to be fair for everybody. And hey, I'd love to get you and Crenshaw in one of these meetings.
I think so too.
Debate. So maybe we can set that up between now and June.
Yeah,
maybe you'll take my call.
Challenge it, exactly. I agree. I think this is something that I don't know if the citizens are asking him to answer for a few things or not, but I think that everybody should have the opportunity to have that happen.
Absolutely. I'd love to create an environment where you guys can do just what we're doing right here. Nobody has to leave their home. They can do it live like this. I think it would be phenomenal to have him and you, and people can get on and ask questions and type them in the chat box. So maybe I'll give him a call at the office and see if he's willing and open to meeting with us, and we'll see what he says.
We'll see.
I have said this from the beginning. Mike Crenshaw is a good man, but like I said, there's room for change in every department, in every county. That's the reason why the president only sits 2 terms. It doesn't matter how good a president is, and we love him. He can only sit for 2 terms because the change needs to continue to happen and follow through. So it's never been a negative about him. It's always been about Amanda seeing her vision and her purpose and things going forward and change coming to Oconee. And that's what it's about, change coming to Oconee, and I'm all about change. So I really hope everything goes in the positive direction of change no matter what. And I really appreciate everybody who logged in and came on and who's here with us. And if I can get that meeting set up, Amanda, I'll let you know.
Yeah. We'll let everybody know.
Absolutely. Well, it was good to talk to you again, and we will definitely meet up again and again. If you're watching it on replay and you do have a question, do put it in the comments below, and we will get to it. Or you can, if it's something personal you want to ask her, just send it on her Facebook Messenger. She does get those, and she will ask, so she will answer. So you have a good night, Amanda. It was good to see you again, and I'm sure I will talk to you soon.
All right. Good night, everyone. Vote June 9th. Don't forget.
Good night. Yes, go vote. Use your rights to vote. Good night, everybody.
Good night.